One of the things I've read that the phrase that some people have used to describe you as the best bar band in America. You must have run across that.
Yeah, I think we started it. Well, I think that when we first started, we came out of a lot of indie rock and punk rock, and our band before Lifter Puller was certainly in the indie scene, and I think we wanted to do something more straight ahead. So I think that I wrote our first bio, and I called it, I might have used the term bar rock and or bar band, and I didn't mean it as just meaning like kind of a simple presentation, kind of getting up on the clothes, that you're not changing into a costume, and not making just kind of coming up and playing straightforward, sincere, honest rock and roll. And a lot of people are like, does that bother you? I'm like, no, not really. I think I said it first. So,
well, growing up in Minneapolis, that's the way Bob Mould did things, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's just it's just sort of a sincere and honest thing. It's not.
Well, that was the whole Husker Du thing, right? Guys got up, they played loud, they played fast, and they played in their street clothes.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the same thing in some ways that a lot of bands around the country did. But yeah, it was just kind of going back to that. I think that when the band started, there was a lot of, this kind of new electro punk thing, dance punk, whatever, and then also garage music where you dress up as in the same outfits as all the other guys in the band, and kind of have this gimmick, So I think that we were just presenting ourselves as slightly different.
Except without the tattoos. We talked to the guys in the Gaslight Anthem the other day.
Yeah,
I have tattoos.
Not like Brian does.
Yeah, not up in your neck.
I guess I don't on my neck.
Yeah. I don't have any tattoos, but Dad has quite a few, and some other guys have some. But no, we're not quite as tattooed up as Brian is. He's running out of space at a young age.
Well, we talked about it actually, and he's kind of regretting it. He's thinking maybe below the wrist I should take them off, and maybe up on the neck I should take them off, because that way I could put on a suit.
You couldn't take them off. They don't really come off like that.
Not really.
They look like smears, blur. So.
He wants to be able to wear a suit and have nobody know that he's got ink all the way up his body.
Well, he went early. He went big early.
Yeah. Now this album, Heaven is Whenever, is kind of a cool title, and that sounds somewhat mystical, or I don't want to say anti-Christian, but it's certainly very of the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the idea, is that that. Instead of this Christian concept of heaven where you're rewarded much later, at the end of life, I think the idea of heaven is whenever is that you're, if you live a righteous life, you should find joy and euphoria every day, and you should, and every day should be feel heavenly at some point. And I think it also speaks to the lyric "Heaven is whenever we can get together." It also speaks to kind of like the idea of what we do, playing the shows, getting people together in a room and having a good time, which we get to do, 6 nights a week when we're on tour.
There's lots of big choruses and sing-along choruses here. When you write songs, or when you wrote songs for this album, did you consciously think, okay, we want that sort of attitude and vibe in all the records? On all songs?
I can't remember. I almost feel like there's less whoa, whoa, whoa choruses.
Yeah, the new record, I think there's less of that. I think it's more, as not being the lead singer, I think that there's more vocals apart from the lead, Craig's vocals, lead vocals on this record, but they're not these really big, whoa, obvious places. They're to me, they seem a little more musical, and they're more kind of a texture or dynamics than part of the actual chorus.
Is there more singing and less ranting on this record?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's more. There's more. I know I just become a better singer over the past 7 years, so I was able to kind of sing more, rant less, and I think when you sing something melodically, even if it's, I guess it kind of connects more to the music, connects more to the band, and becomes a part of one piece rather than a band playing and a guy ranting over the top of it.
Did you take singing lessons?
Yeah, I took some. It was more like vocal coaching, and it was partially to help me sing better, but it was also partially to help me stop losing my voice.
You were doing the throat thing, and
so it's learning exercises and really sticking with them, but it does also increase your range, if you stick with the exercises, and And but also it's just a matter of being more confident, doing so many shows, and saying like, oh, maybe I can sing, maybe I can try it at least.
Can we go through some of the songs in the record? The Smidge. There's a line in the Smidge that I really like. When we lie to each other, we do it through computers.
Yeah. Well, that's that's sort of a modern take. It's the difference between what people will say in an email and what people will say to you.
See, oddly enough, that question was from somebody I said I was going to be talking to you guys today, and I tweeted it. And I said, any questions for the Hold Steady, let me know. That's a question that came in that way, which I think is kind of weirdly ironic.
Yeah, I guess, I guess, although that's a question, not a lie.
Rock problems. Can't sympathize with your rock and roll problems. Where did that come from?
It's sort of about, being disconnected to your girlfriend at home, you come home and you say like, well, God, there was no barrier at the show and the security was lax, and she doesn't really get it, so, it's like, I don't even care, So, it's kind of about, it's also about having problems that are good problems. I mean, like, wow, the club was oversold and it was too hot, and it's like, well, remember when we couldn't get anyone to come see us? So it's kind of like first world problems.
We spent some time today going through We Can Get Together and trying to pick out all the band references. So we got Husker Du in there. We've got Psychedelic Furs. There's a reference to Meatloaf,
Yep.
Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Utopia.
Yep.
Is that the Todd Rundgren Utopia?
Yep.
Okay. Ass Ponies?
No, what did you think that was?
I can't remember. Something with heaven in the title.
Well, there's Pavement, Heaven is a
Pavement,
Truck.
yes, right.
The first one is, no one's actually brought this up, but this is, there's a record called Heaven Ain't Happening.
Right.
By The Laps. It was a band with Ted Leo's brother, Chris Leo. And I really like that record, but it's called Heaven Ain't Happening, and I didn't want to open the song. I don't like saying ain't in songs, so I said she played Heaven Isn't Happening, which isn't the real title of the record, but that's what I meant.
So you threw those people off the scent.
Yeah, a little artistic license.
Hurricane J, I guess the first single. What's this about?
It's kind of about, well, there's this book, Lush Life, by Richard Price, and there was two characters in there, a restaurant manager, older, like my age, and a young waitress, more like 21, and they have kind of a relationship, and it's kind of about the balance of the power, because he really thinks he's in control, but he's kind of stuck in this thing, and then she's got her whole, all this exciting stuff. She's just waitressing, getting through school. So it's kind of about a balance of power in that type of relationship. He thinks he's giving her all this advice, but she's kind of like, look, I'm just here for the summer.